the county executive of Montgomery County, the executive of Prince George's, the mayor of the District of Columbia, His Excellency the Ambassador of the Cameroon, distinguished guests. As we struggle since August 12, 2004 to this date, March 12, 2005, to comprehend the tragedy that befell the family of Peter Ayoumpe Njang, our only certainty is that the Njang's family and the people of Cameroon as a whole were robbed of a giant. We as a family mourn the loss of an illustrious son who we believe was supposed to be a future leader. He was taken from us by a police on patrol. As we grieve with all who were deeply touched by the loss of Peter Njang Ayoumpe, it is painful that our quest to understand the causes of gunshot remains unfinished. The work of the grand jury, imperfect as it may be, has left the family in more grief and to forge the aliens and Africans in particular in a common understanding of the U.S. police system. It grieves us even today to recall the shocking suffering that the family endured during the preparation and evacuation of Peter's body to Cameroon, his native land. Thanks to the timely intervention of the government of Cameroon, represented here by Mr. Ndongo, Peter's body was evacuated to Cameroon. In furtherance, we also acknowledge the moral, financial, and physical support of the Cameroonian community, Africans, and other sympathizers who were immensely there during these great moments of pain. It is our hope and prayers that such an ill omen should never befall any family on this peaceful land of the United States of America. May it impress upon us that the greatest homage we can pay to Peter Ayoumpe Njang and those who died in similar circumstances is to work together for peaceful and prosperous society based on the principles of cooperation, justice, equity, to which our forefathers of the United States dedicated their lives. The family would like to use this forum to solicit an open door policy to the county executives of PG, Montgomery, and the District of Columbia, to any family in further and any family that goes through a painful situation that our family went through. For and on behalf of Peter Njang Ayoumpe's family, thank you.
In spite of the loss to the family, we're hoping that what arises out of that is what is the beginnings of this town hall meeting, which is to begin to educate the community, to begin to have the county educated as well, and bring those cultural sensitivities together such that something like this unfortunate incident will not occur again. So my hope really is that we don't only become educated as citizens, but also have elected officials, especially at the police community relationships, more attuned to the cultural differences between an immigrant community, mostly a first-generation community, and the larger population.
This concludes the first part of our program, and at this point I'm going to turn the program back to Emma, who's going to explain the next parts. Emma?
Thank you, Mr. Roma. We're going into what I believe is the most interesting part of our program this afternoon, which is the plenary session, during which I'm going to be inviting to the podium representatives from the various jurisdictions with content knowledge and subject matter expert knowledge to talk to us and to also engage us in conversation and dialogue. I'm hoping truly that we seize this opportunity to ask questions, learn, and truly engage in a collaborative effort here. Let me start by laying down a few ground rules. We want you to participate. We want you to feel comfortable in asking your questions. There are there is one microphone down this aisle. Please feel free to walk up and use that microphone during the plenary session. Also, there were notepads on your chair as you sat down, in case you were wondering why a blank sheet of paper was there. If you do not feel comfortable approaching the mic, which I expect everybody to feel very comfortable, please do write your questions down. We will attempt to take as many questions as we can in the time that we have allotted for this afternoon. But in the case that we don't, I'll be more than happy to collect those note cards and summarize, not summarize rather, but try to group the questions as best I can and give those over to the panelists with the hope that we can go through them as quickly as possible. Let me also say that this is a wonderful opportunity. It's the purest form of democracy we can have, a town hall meeting. It's based on the assumption that we, the citizens, know what we need and that we are willing and able to engage collaboratively to work towards what we need. So there is no better place other than the voting booth to have your voice heard, especially with your elected officials present. So please feel free, and I do highly encourage you to do so. In the interest of time, I'm going to request that while making your questions, please go directly to your question. Limit your comments as best you can so we can take many questions during the Q&A session. In time, I will be inviting those who are on the first panel, which is the community police relationships, to come forward. We have 2 tables on either side, so if you can get to that table. That would be Commander Cunningham, Major Magor from Prince George's County, and Commander Burton from Washington Metropolitan Area, as well as Dr. Joseph Kwanyo. As we watch the County Executive, Dr. Duncan, make an exit, we recognize that he has many commitments and cannot stay with us for the duration. So we thank him wholeheartedly as he leaves. Thank you for taking the time. We thank the representatives from the District of Columbia as well. We encourage them to stay. We're not sending them away as we change panels here. So if your schedules permit, please, would love to have you stay with us for the duration. Also, let me preface by saying that only by asking questions do we ensure that the wheels of government move. So we do want to hear your questions. I have some of my own, but having the privilege of having the microphone, I wouldn't want to dominate it. So let me again start by briefly introducing our panel here, and I will hand over very shortly to Dr. Kwanyo, who's going to kind of lead us into the police community relationship. If you bear with me a moment, I'll grab my bio sheet and introduce the panel. We have here this afternoon Commander Mitch Cunningham of Montgomery County. He has been with the police force for 20 years, and he served on several different initiatives: the Street Crime Special Assignment Unit, Drug Investigation Unit, and also the United States Secret Service Metro Alien Task Force. He was promoted to sergeant in 1994, and later He was also promoted in 2001 as lieutenant to the 4th District. Commandant Cunningham was assigned to be assistant to the bureau chief for the Management Services Bureau in 2003. He was later promoted to captain and assigned to the district commander for 3rd District Silver Spring. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Commandant Cunningham.
We want to do some outreach to the community here. As we know, an incident occurred back in August of 2004, and that really became a starting point for us to want to work with the Cameroon community and do outreach, do a way to communicate to them about county services and how Montgomery County operates, talk about the police department and community relations. So it really acts as a springboard to building further relationships.
We also have on the panel Commander Burton, who began his career in 1990 as patrol officer for the 1st District. From there, he quickly moved up the ranks, serving as sergeant and then moving to lieutenant. In 1998, Commandant Burton was promoted to captain and was transferred to the 5th District. He was promoted again in 2000 to inspector in command of the narcotics branch. In May 2003, Commander Burton was asked to serve as the commander of the 1st District. He's married and lives with 2 children. Ladies and gentlemen, please make him feel welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, also please welcome from Prince George's County, Lieutenant Decker. And now I'm going to hand over to Dr. Nkwanyo to lead us into this panel. Dr. Nkwanyo.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a unique opportunity to have to accept the invitation to serve as a moderator on this very historical moment. Particularly the subject of police and community relations is definitely most important and very sensitive, particularly in the backdrop of the Njang episode. I have been living in the state of Maryland for, I would not betray my age by telling I've been living here for over 20 years. And I am very grateful that more recent immigrants have this wonderful opportunity. This is the first time as a resident of Maryland to be exposed to this highest level of the political representatives and senior administrators of our state. I'm very, very pleased. I want to thank them once more for coming, particularly the senior officers of the different arms of the police department. As a young physician, I had an experience in Baltimore County. I could have been one of the statistics like Mr. Njang. It's just I'm going to tell you this anecdote to explain to you why I took time off my rather busy schedule to be part of this forum. When I was a lot younger, driving a slick Mercedes, sun top down, listening to Santana and Bob Marley, I had a call at the hospital in Baltimore County. I was living down the street from the police station in a very exclusive Baltimore neighborhood called Roxton. I came down Kennyworth Drive where the police station was, and I got a phone call from the hospital that a patient of mine was having a cardiac arrest at the emergency room. I turned on my speakerphone, I left my music on, and I was talking to the nurses and delivering instructions. I came through the police station at 70 miles per hour, 3 miles away from the hospital. And this police officer suddenly pulled me over. I was very agitated, of course, talking to the nurses. I had this loud music on. The police officer talked to me. I came across with this, what he called a Caribbean accent, a slick Mercedes, top speed, breaking all the rules, coming through a police station at 70 miles per hour. And my only grace was, since I was on speakerphone, I told the nurses, if I'm dead, no, a police officer just shot me. I said, his gun is drawn. And if he's going to shoot me, he's got his gun up to my head. And the guy just collapsed. So I had to abandon dealing with these people in the emergency room to see a police officer on the curb. He told me I should have told him I was a physician. I said, listen, why should I have told you I'm a physician? I was talking to the nurses. And he said, but you came through at 70 miles per hour. You have a Mercedes, you have a Caribbean accent, and you fit the profile. So and he said he was trying to blame me, and really the man was in tears. He said I would have made him lose his livelihood. He doesn't know what his children would have done if he would have shot me. So what I'm trying to say is I did a few things wrong, and I think they did a few things wrong. So I felt that, and we became friends, and I think we're still friends today, because he came very close to taking away my life. It just happened that the circumstances were very dramatic. From the story itself, it contains ingredients of a lot of things that citizens need to learn about safety, about interacting with the police, about conducting oneself properly so that the police is not too suspicious, and to remember that police are humans too. They have feelings, just like we lose a loved one and we have feelings, they also have feelings. So sometimes if for any reason whatsoever they make a wrong call, they equally are hurt. Unfortunately, it is a statistic. Somebody loses a very loved one. As a physician, most of our errors are buried very ceremonially, and people don't never try to find out what went wrong. But for a police officer, it became so obvious that in a very, very split-second moment, you have to make a tough decision. So please, let me use this opportunity to thank the officers for coming here. I am sure they'll have a lot to share with us in terms of what the manner in which they conduct their work. And I'm sure we also have a lot of questions that we have about the way they conduct their work, what they expect from us. And I hope that I'll be able to moderate a very constructive engagement. This is not a court of law. This is an opportunity to learn. If I had known, or if I had really, I never realized that being so agitated, playing loud music, and driving a slick car with the sun roofed up and just looking so flashy with Santana cracking on my guitar, it created an atmosphere. I just want us to, they are very simple rules. There are a lot of issues of safety, but they're essentially important, and usually when there's a breach to safety, there could be a very, very catastrophic result. Furthermore, for domestic and international reasons, security is becoming a more heightened issue. And the people who protect us need to know exactly where we are coming from and where we are going. I think this is a very wonderful opportunity, and I will allow we should proceed with the deliberations so that the speakers, the different representatives can speak to us, and I think we'll take off with Commander Cunningham, and after that we will be able to answer questions.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I appreciate that. Yeah, let me introduce myself. My name is Commander Mitch Cunningham from the Montgomery County Police Department, and I want to thank the doctor for those kind comments. In the past few months, I've been working very closely with your representatives from your community, and it's been a very enjoyable and constructive relationship that we've been building to better forge relationships and communication. I'd like to take a moment just to tell you a little bit about the Montgomery County Police Department and the things that we do to build bridges to our community. The Montgomery County Police Department has approximately 1,100 officers. We cover a 500 square mile, and we have close to 1 million people in Montgomery County. The Montgomery County Police jurisdiction is broken up into 6 separate districts, and each district is commanded by a district commander, of which I am one of the 6. Some of the things that we have done are as follows. Several years ago, to better serve the community, we reorganized our department under what is known as a community policing model. And that model essentially focuses us to work with communities and really bring community members into the planning process, so that as we work to focus on problems in neighborhoods, we're much more responsive, and that those who work with us have ownership along with us into the efforts that we work to and the problems we work to solve. Montgomery County Police are very focused on the community, and we train our officers to be sensitive to cultural issues, not only in our police academy, which goes for nearly 6 months, but we also train our officers annually to learn different cultures, to learn how to reach out to people, to be as effective as they can in the various interactions they have. At our district level, which I just explained, we also have one officer whose sole responsibility it is to ensure that we are building bridges and working to communicate our efforts to the community. This community services officer has received special training and works with individual parts of the community, whether geographically or with special groups, so that we can learn what individual problems those groups are experiencing and we can work to resolve them. Additionally, at a more strategic level, our department has a community relations division, and they set the agenda and look long-term at the different planning needs and the different problems that we may experience in the future. Part of those efforts have led us to form several committees which work with specific groups in our community. For example, we have an African American liaison community, we have an Asian liaison community, and a Hispanic liaison community to better serve those particular communities. Additionally, each district commander has what's known as a citizen advisory board. So we select citizens who actually sit and on a monthly basis advise that district commander, him or her, about the various issues in our community to make us better and more responsive. Finally, since the opening of the Gilchrist Center several years ago, we have partnered with them and have had our consciousness raised and our cultural sensitivities improved about our newest immigrants and our newest arrivals to our community. So at every step of the organization, we work hard to improve our outreach to the community and to do a better job in knowing the issues that you face, and then in turn learning to resolve or work to fix those issues. I'll pass over to Commander Hilton Burton, who will talk about the District of Columbia. Then Lieutenant Decker will talk about Prince George's County, and then we'll go into the question and answer period.
Good afternoon. I'm Commander Hilton Burton, representing Chief Charles H. Ramsey from the Metropolitan Police Department. On behalf of Charles, the Chief of Police of the Metropolitan Police Department, thank you for the opportunity to come out today and speak, and not only speak, but to learn something new. We don't have, as I think the Mayor's representative said, a very large Cameroon community, but the Chief says every opportunity is a learning opportunity. So I want to take back what I learned today to our officers so that we can better serve the Cameroon citizens of our community. The Metropolitan Police Department is very diverse because we serve a very diverse constituent in Washington, D.C. So we're always looking for the opportunity to interact with people so that our officers can learn about different cultures. The Chief is very insistent on the officers getting out and knowing the people that they serve and being responsive to them. So I think today will be a great opportunity for me to learn from you, as well as for you all to learn our policies and procedures on the Metropolitan Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Lieutenant John Decker. I'm with the Prince George's County Police Department, and I was tapped last night to attend this meeting by my district commander, who would be Major Mark McGaugh, and he is the counterpart of these gentlemen to my left in Prince George's County. I've been with the police department, it'll be 32 years in June, and my assignments, responsibility have been varied, as you might imagine. I'd like to take a moment and digress. As I listened to the doctor here tell us about his adventures with the police department and so forth, I would just like to comment that a very dear friend of mine heart surgeon over at Washington Adventist who saved my life when I was a young policeman many years ago. And I had a rather unfortunate encounter with an armed felon. He too suffers from the same affliction that you do, which would be lack of driver training. And every time he has a unfortunate encounter with the police, I get a telephone call. And I encourage him to. I encourage him to try to better understand what behavior might be causing these unfortunate confrontations. But as I say, he's a very dear friend and an extremely honorable man. And well, I owe my life. My police department is just a little ways down the road. My precinct has a very, very diverse community. We have a high Latino population. And as a policeman, as a working policeman, a policeman that works the street, it's our responsibility and the responsibility of these gentlemen on my left to ensure a safe, comfortable environment so the citizens, new immigrants to our area can enjoy all the opportunities that this wonderful country has to offer. My mother, I'm first generation American. My mother came into this country through Ellis Island over 80 years ago. I was raised not in the Washington metropolitan area, but another up in northeastern Pennsylvania. And the experiences I've noticed in 30 years of policing in Prince George's County, the experiences I have noticed are not that dissimilar from any immigrant community that comes to this country to start over again. And as a police officer, and most of the police officers that I know, we're very much in tune that the immigrant community, particularly in my precinct, they're vulnerable, they need us as we need them. So it's an honor to serve, and it's an honor to be here, and I'm looking forward to receiving some input from you folks and taking it back to the ladies and gentlemen that I work with as well. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if there were ever a time when you didn't know what your engagement should be with a police officer, here's your opportunity to ask. And as I said, my role is your moderator, and I simply am here as a conduit, but also I have certain privileges. So I'll throw out the first question to our panels here. I have the privilege of doing that. Now, gentlemen, what would you say to an immigrant here? I have to apologize because if I turn, then I lose the microphone. What would you say to an immigrant who has concerns about the fact that he or she may be an undocumented alien, but has children here and is dealing with the police? What fears can you allay for that person? I'm throwing it kind of generally here to see whether in engaging the police officers, there anything that they need to be concerned about?
Well, first let me, of course, talk about the agency I'm most familiar with, Montgomery County. Montgomery County Police are prohibited by policy from indiscriminately asking people their immigration status. This is a myth that we have been working to dispel for many, many years. In fact, as you might have heard earlier, I've been on the police department for approximately 20 years, and in that time, in that 20 years, that policy has been in place. The most important thing to remember is that we work very hard to solve problems, and as I mentioned, our philosophy is a problem-solving philosophy now in community policing. So the problems that you have, you should feel confident that your problems will be heard and that we will work very hard to solve them. And in fact, as I look back over the years, we've had so many successes in communities that have struggled to revitalize, that have struggled to rebuild, and are now just terrific places to live and bring up children, etc. And that was all from people approaching the police and us working together. And part of that community policing philosophy is input from the community at the planning stages where we can have the greatest difference. So as always, police department there to help you in problems that can be solved maybe that night, or problems that may take much longer to solve. But we've got quite a track record of success in doing so.
And to echo that, the policy of the Metropolitan Police Department is pretty much the same. We are forbidden by policy to ask anyone about their immigration status. And the Chief Ramsey has reinforced that over and over again, because we are here to assist people. We can't have people fearing coming to the police and assisting them as well. We want, and we know that the immigrant populations throughout the area are preyed upon by criminals, and we want to foster trust. In that way, people feel better about coming to us with their problems and their issues, and mostly reporting crimes to us. So there is a definite strong policy from the police department that we will not ask anyone about their immigration status.
Quite frankly, I would echo the same sentiment that the immigration status is the least of our concerns. We're concerned with ensuring the safety of the general public. Immigration is not our job, it's not our duty. We don't concern ourselves with that. We'd much rather have the cooperation and the input from the people in the community that we are sworn to protect than have them alienated by any false conceptions about our involvement with immigration, which is nil. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Go ahead.
Officers, we hear a lot about profiling, and personally I've never been able to understand what is behind profiling. Are there any justifiable reasons for the police to have profiles of people who are likely to commit certain crimes? And particularly, are there any reasons for racial profiling?
Well, I'm very much happy that you asked that question. Racial profiling does not go on in the Montgomery County Police Department, and we have a multi-year Department of Justice study to prove that. No, there's no justification at all for racial profiling. And in fact, the term profiling really stretches back many years ago when during narcotics investigations and response, there was, quote, a profile of a drug courier. And that's where the term really came into vogue and where people may be familiar with it. And that was, there was a certain set of specific ideas, and that there were certain police officers who would work, for example, Route 95. And, but no, racial profiling does not go on, nor should it. Police officers have plenty to do looking for bad guys without having to, come up with profiles or sets of requirements to look for people. It's important for us to reduce crime, and we have many adequate tools to do that.
Yeah, and along that same line, profiling, when you look at it, you limit yourself to other suspects. Well, I worked in narcotics for many years, and if you limit yourself to only one specific profile, you're missing everybody else that doesn't fit that profile, whether it be terrorism, whether it be narcotics or whatever. We train our officers and we reinforce our officers, treat everyone fairly, treat everyone with the same respect, and do your job. If somebody's committed a crime, then you go after that person that commits the crime. If they fit the description of the person who committed the crime, then you go after that. You don't blanket an entire community or entire gender or race based upon some preconceived notions. So racial profiling, it hurts everyone. It hurts the effectiveness of law enforcement. It hurts the community. It hurts the trust that the community has in the police. So we train our officers to be professional and